Right, let's plunge straight into our first topic today. Should Birmingham's bin strikers get back to work? I really would love your calls on this. Maybe you live near the area. Maybe you can even smell what's going on there. Bin collectors have today started a strike, which they say could last indefinitely. It follows a series of one-day walkouts, which have impacted bin collections across Birmingham for the last 2 months. Locals have said this has led to rat infestations and piles of rubbish, which they say, and I quote, "This is such a horrible idea," are coming alive on residential streets. Rats, rodents, maggots, foxes. The workers say they're striking over the council's decision to cut a critical safety role, which allows staff to earn a further £8,000 a year, and instead leaves them earning just slightly more than minimum wage. So, Albie, what do you make of this? And I think some people will remember the strikes, the litter strikes in London in the 70s, where the streets of London were full of rubbish that was, eye level. And my father, I remember him telling me about this. He said, the rats were the size of dogs. The whole place was impenetrable, stinking and infested. It was horrific. So what do you make of this?
Yes, I've seen footage of the strikes that you're mentioning. And you always think of those sorts of things as being something which has happened in the past. Things like that don't happen anymore. But it sounds like that's exactly what's happening in Birmingham. I think we've got to look at this through the prism of the Birmingham City Council, which is a council which has effectively declared itself bankrupt, I think, in recent months. And so I'm sure the councillors are looking desperately at where they can cut costs, minimise the budget and optimise things. And now they've decided they're going to do away with one of the bin men roles. The bin men are upset about that. Ultimately, when budgets are squeezed, decisions have got to be made. They're not decisions anyone wants to make, but they're decisions someone needs to make. So I support what the council are trying to do, and I think the binmen should go back to work or find work elsewhere.
And Andy, they argue that this is dangerous, that the role that the council is getting rid of is one that is there and designed to keep them safe, and any one of them can step up and play that role in a given week. And I believe that they also did lose a bin man because the job can be very dangerous, actually. And
hard work.
So, yeah, and it's very hard work. But so they're saying this is a safety threat, but also a threat to their earnings.
We used to, in society, give tips to the bin men at Christmas,
Yeah.
and we recognised them as being really important members of our society, keeping us clean and tidy and keeping those dog-sized rats at bay. And I still think they're really important. I'm so tired of living in a society where as soon as money's tight, the first thing we do is we get rid of human beings. We've got to stop cutting human beings out of these roles. I say double the number of bin men. Let's not cut them, because those people are going to have salaries, they're going to have incomes. They're not going to be asking the state for money or for support of anything, and they're able to then spend their money, of course, in the local economy, and they have their job security, and they're actually performing a really important role. So the idea that we're getting rid of roles and putting bin men down to 24, 25k a year, which is just above minimum wage, to do a job that most of us simply wouldn't want to do, seems to me really draconian and unnecessary.
Now, Albie, as far as the economy is concerned, a great deal depends on a feel-good factor, a feeling of confidence. You feel like, oh gosh, I'm doing okay, the country's doing okay, I think I'll go and replace my curtains, I think I'll go and book a holiday, those feelings you get when there's a feel-good sense where you live. But things like rubbish collection and potholes in the road materially affect individual people who start to feel that the quality of their life really is diminishing. If you set foot outside your own front door and there's stinking rubbish that's been ravaged by foxes or dogs and it's piling up and no one's coming to get it, it is a feeling that materially affects, your sense of well-being, feel good, and whether you feel like spending money or have confidence in the economy or indeed the country.
I mean, it's hugely important. No one wants to walk around and see rubbish strewn everywhere, but we've got to understand why council budgets are under so much pressure. And I think it's very sweet that Andy wants us to hire double the amount of binmen. But the simple fact of the matter is, the reason why we're having to cut these roles, the reason why lots of councils are having trouble with money, is because the bill for adult social care is now so high. And we have this ageing population and a shrinking labour force, which means more council budgets are spent on adult social care. Now, that's very important. And so cuts are being made elsewhere. So we've got to decide, do we want to care for the elderly or hire double the amount of
Dare I throw this into this mix? Do you think it's possible that there might be middle management on very high salaries at that council who maybe don't do very much when there are bin men out there 12 months a year, rain or shine,
Let me go straight to the phones.
rubbish.
I'm not surprised that people are calling in about this one. Sarah is on the line in Surrey. Thank you for ringing. Good morning. Should the bin men go back to work, Sarah?
Yes, I believe they should. Councils invariably will subcontract these out to other companies, this service. So that is up to the council to look for a good rate for this type of service. And at the end of the day, if you apply for a job, you know what the terms and conditions are, you know what the rate of pay is. So a job is a job. I feel it's very difficult, and I do, and I love my bin men, to be quite honest, they're lovely. But at the end of the day, we're looking at environmental health issues here. We're talking rats and whatever. So when they do go back to work, are they expecting overtime to clear the backlog? It goes back to whatever is negotiated between the council and their subcontractors.
Well, I think, Sarah, that the issue here is, you're quite right when you say when you take on a job, you know what the terms and conditions are, but then, of course, they can change.
Exactly.
And in this instance, they're changing.
Well, they change in everyone's working life. That is what life is.
But in this case, the bin men are saying not only will they be less safe because the person who's meant to be supervising the safety is the person being cut, but also when they step up and do that role, they earn about £8,000 more a year for doing it. Now they won't be able to earn that money. So A, their safety, they say, will be affected, and B, their earnings will be affected. So you could see why they're not merrily toiling off to work, because they feel as if, the game has changed completely. They're facing a completely different working environment and a different earning capacity. So that's why,
but
isn't it?
That is between them and the person that they're employed by.
Right. But how do you entice them back to work, though, if you change the parameters and they say no thanks? I mean, we're going to carry on taking the calls. Sarah, thank you very much indeed. You think still that there would be money for more bin men?
Well, it should be. I mean, what do you pay your council taxes for if it's not for things like having your bins collected by happy workers who are doing a job that none of us want to do?
Would you want council tax to go up?
It's such a sad society to live in, that who are we bashing when we have a council that needs to save money? Let's bash the bin men. Come on, get real. As if there aren't other people in that council who can afford to lose money or be made redundant.
Who?
Middle management, I would wager.
But everyone always... This is an argument. You almost sound like a conservative like me. We always go on about middle management. The reality is, when you look at the numbers, yes, there are some very inflated salaries, but these are actually quite small costs in the grand scheme of things. So, yeah, let's do away with the middle management.
How much is the chief executive of
Right,
Birmingham
let's
City
talk
Council
to Sheila.
paid?
Sheila's on the line in West Yorkshire. Sheila, thanks for ringing. What do you think? Do you think the bin men should be back at work?
Hello, Vanessa. How lovely to speak with you, love.
Oh, it's lovely to speak to you. Thank you very much.
I love your purple dress.
Glad you like it. Thank you very much. Oh, my gosh, Sheila, you're lovely. I hope you phone every day. It's really nice talking to you. Do you think they should go back to work, though? Because it must be pretty ghastly living near a big pile of rubbish, obviously.
Bless you, Vanessa, love. I don't think the bin men should. I think we should treasure our bin men. And some of the nicest people I've met are bin men. And another occupancy that can get very underestimated are people that do cleaning jobs. I know the jobs are menial, and they're just as important as doctors, lawyers, love. And there's a gentleman, two men sitting with you.
Yes.
And there's a gentleman that was insulted by the gentleman on the left of my screen.
I don't think they
The
take it
gentleman-
personally, Sheila. I think they know each other well.
take
and
it
I
very
think,
personally.
No, he doesn't. They know they're grown-ups and they can take it. They're here for a good old argy-bargy, really, aren't they? So I don't feel for them too much, Sheila.
One of the guys said that the other guy was becoming a conservative. I'm definitely not a conservative person.
The thing is,
That's not an
Albie, who
insult.
said that, thinks that's a compliment, Sheila.
Yes,
he's
it's a
he's a
compliment.
conservative himself. He thinks that's the nicest thing he can possibly say. So tell me, you think that the strike should continue, do you, Sheila?
The guy in the black jumper is very empathetic. Look, I think the bin people should be treated with more respect. And we're all human beings, and I think they should get a pay increase. They do a very good job, most of them.
Sheila,
Here.
This is Andy. He's obviously your friend,
very
Sheila. You really
empathetic.
like him. Thank you so much for calling. It's lovely to hear you. And you've got the most beautiful voice, absolutely adorable. I can imagine Sheila doing voiceovers for really charming kind of fairy tales and children's programme. I think she'd be wonderful. Sheila, thank you so much. Let's talk to Helen in Sheffield about this. Helen, bin men, should they be working? Because after all, without them, the streets become almost impassable and perfectly revolting.
Where do we put the rubbish?
Good question.
That's a question. Yeah, where do we put the rubbish if we don't have bin men, bin persons? Why don't we? If you put rubbish out, who's going to collect the rubbish?
Well, no one. That's the whole point. It gets higher and higher and higher. It smells to high heaven. It's reeking. And there are horrible, there are creatures crawling all over it. It's just a totally insanitary and nasty situation. It's nasty. Horrible.
I remember years ago when they went out on strike.
Yeah.
My house, I got rubbish in the bins. I got rats in it because they worked their own strike. Give them the proper wage that they deserve.
I mean, what might happen, of course, is one of these things where they simply reach a kind of sticking point and the bin men won't collect and the council or the subcontractor won't give them the money they're asking for. And then you're in this terrible gridlock situation where nothing budges. And that's when the rubbish piles up and up and up in the streets, isn't it?
It's good news for good news for the local pest control. It's gone up by 75%, the number of call-outs, apparently. So it really is getting to the point where they have to do something. And what they have to do is open the coffers up and start paying the money.
Thank you very much to Helen. And Colin on Facebook says exactly that. Pay them a decent wage. He says they're an essential service. Where would we be without them? And the answer is in a most uncomfortable and horrible, foul-smelling, rather dangerous and insanitary place. I mean, we do need them and we need them to go to work, don't we?
I almost said a place then, and then I thought I'm going to get in terrible trouble.
Glad
You're
you
describing the place I went to university anyway.
Don't absolutely, definitely do not do that. So, I mean, we haven't really progressed this discussion, have we? Because at the moment, the strike is imminent. It's about to happen. Do you think that the contractors in charge of paying the bin men should be galvanised by real worry about what will happen if this really takes hold and should, in fact, do something quickly to avert it? And do you think they might?
I think that the council and the contractors should hold firm. Ultimately, this council is a bankrupt council. They need to find ways to save money. I think this is an effective way to do so. Whenever we have a conversation about taxes rising, everyone gets very upset about it. Whenever we have a conversation about jobs being cut, everyone gets very upset about it. We can't have our cake and eat it. We've got to choose one. Either taxes go up or we make cuts. What do you prefer?
I think maybe they should look into sponsorship. Why not have bin lorries sponsored by Greggs? There we are, sorted.
You better make a call.
Cheap sausage rolls now, 99p.
Thank you so much for your calls on this. We're going to move right on now.